September already. The question again is, yes, we are entering November and approaching a new budget to be sent in for it. So what do we need this one for now? Please, Chibuzor, walk us through it.
Okay, we need this money for several things according to the federal government. Obviously, we are in the middle of this unending sea of challenges financially and economically as a country. So the government is trying to ensure that business continues as usual. So this is the second supplementary budget of 2023. And this is obviously going, we're the end of October going to November. So, so it gives us a good picture of where we are. So the federal government has approved, the Federal Executive Council approved 2.17 trillion as second supplementary budget of the year. They said 600 out of that 605 billion will be spent on security and defense. 300 billion will be earmarked for the maintenance of bridges, one of which is the third mainland, which I think starts tomorrow. There is some money for the FEC, for the INEC. That's 800 billion. Democracy is expensive. To conduct elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. So elections in 3 states will go past another 800 billion. There's a takeoff on new ministries, which is another 8 billion. So that's where we are.
Okay.
So, we're taking off new ministries, 8 billion. We're spending money on elections, another 800 million here and there. So typically this would not be too much of a, when we look at some of the line items, obviously one of my concerns typically when it comes to expenditure in Nigeria is that our expenditure is inflated. And obviously when we look at our processes from the cost of procurement to the cost of offering these services, there is always the potential and opportunity for this contract to be inflated across board. I would dare say that we probably for my limited experience, we probably spend a lot more we are procuring for in the public sector than you do in the private sector. Because one of the things is because of this lack or this divorce of responsibility from individuals and citizens in the state. The idea that the money, government money is our money or their money, it's not even our money, it was our money, and we're not careful with how we spend it. It's their money and it's endless. It's one myth that we need to break in Nigeria. I don't think we've sufficiently done that, and our leaders are not giving the best example. So the guy on the street thinks that we still have a lot more money to throw around at things. So when he's approaching to deliver services to the government, he's thinking along the same lines, and obviously we have corruption as a major factor that also embellishes the entire process. So it's something that we need to sort out because we need to worry a lot about our costs and see how we can get as much value out of the expenditure and what we're spending on. The government is also talking about things about some of these negotiations with obviously we're having the 2 bridges repaired, Eko and third mainland bridges overdue for some of us who go through those bridges on a regular basis every week. In the statements, the minister also reminded us, Minister Bagudu also reminded us that they collected some loans from the World Bank to pay the conditional cash transfer. So the 15 million homes, I hope well, I don't know whose home have gotten it, 50, but we have 50 million homes that are going to receive 25,000 naira. I don't know if it's the one of it's monthly now. I can't recall. And there's also some other money flying around. So we need to get best value out of the money. We need to see how can we manage our costs better to get value out of it. And one thing we also need to remind ourselves that these are costs. On the flip side of cost is revenue. How much are we getting? We fell short of our revenue targets last year. We spent more on debt servicing, basically, and than we actually made from our revenue. And from where I sit, I think we're going to still find ourselves in that trap going forward. So we need to be a bit more. I know the government obviously has an eye on that. It's how we get to manage that at the question.
All right. Thank you, Chibuzor, for helping us and bring out the details in the story there. For one, you pointed out that the Eko and third mainland bridge, for example. So if you say show working, so that means you have to look at that's where your eyes will be to see where this supplementary budget is heading to, among other things you mentioned right now. So that leads me to move away now to Oyeyemi this morning. You have something to add to what Chibuzor has mentioned about this?
I think he's done everything that needs to be done with the story.
Okay, great. So this leads us to the Nation newspaper, which you will speak to this morning, and hopefully it's a fallout of the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who was in the country over the week, Sunday, and then yesterday also. Speaking now with assurance authoritatively that Nigeria, Germany signed 700 billion US dollar solid minerals pact, and this is the solid mineral minister speaking. So how concrete will this one be, or is this just another for the headlines and then we're asking down the line, so 6 months later, how far?
I mean, I was very excited reading the story when I saw the value, but I was quite disappointed when I actually read the story because there is no influx of $700 billion. All this story is saying that a company in Germany has entered into a contract to assist with new technology in the exploration in the mining industry. And this is happening every day. And so we need, I mean, I know that we are very hungry for good news, but it's very important that our investment climate is portrayed as it is, right? There's such, but just leveraging on what Chibuzor said, there is immense need for accountability. I mean, reading this story, you would think that $700 billion is coming in, but what they're saying is that Nigeria's mining framework or the layout of raw materials that we have is about $700 million in value. And now we have a German partner who has a technology that's going to help us speed up our in that space. So that's the essence of the story. And I mean, it's a good thing because according to the company, Geoscan has technology that can speed up the access to our fields by about 80% in terms of value, and cost is significantly cheaper. That's a great advantage. But I mean, before we start celebrating anything, we need to understand the end to end, right? What's the beneficiation? What is going out? What is coming in? What's the direct impact on the Nigerian people, the host communities where these exploratory activities are going to be? And many of these perspectives are not shared. But I'm not one to undermine moves that take us forward. I think it's great. The more investment we have, the more technology we deploy, the better. And the mining space is one that needs significant input. So I'm very happy that the mining minister is consciously trying to groom attention, invite investors, seek collaborations for this space. And I'm hopeful that many of the lessons that we have learned from the oil and gas sector would also be deployed in accelerating our growth in this space. So it's a good thing, but again, accountability is important. Correctly reporting our stories so that the investment climate is honest and true, right? Or truly portrayed is also important. But that's the essence of the story, and I think it's a good development. So kudos to the Minister Dele Alake and his team, and hopefully this is something that we look at down the line as a positive development.
And just before we put the story to bed now, it says that the CEO of the German company you mentioned was a member of the delegation of the German Chancellor, so who had caused to me. So that in itself doesn't it kind of wait?
Speaking broadly on that, I think that, I mean, that's great. So the German Chancellor was in course at the beginning of the week, which yesterday, and has been seeing both government and business stakeholders. And I'm very happy that we have these quote unquote collaborations coming to fore. What we've struggled with is our messaging to investors, our messaging to other countries. Over the past few years, we have not really positioned Nigeria fairly. So I see that we are progressing. I believe that it's a sign that there is hope. You know, there is hope, there is some form of trust that is building up. There is increased attention Hopefully it turns into money, it turns into impact, it turns into tangible change for the Nigerian people. But I mean, in the last, let's say 3-4 months, we've had collaborations across Asia now, and then Europe, and now we have, Germany coming in. And Germany is a very strong player, a strong economy, advanced in technology. The higher our collaborations in that space, the better for us. So it's a great thing that's happening. We should not undermine it in any way. But I must say that it's important that we are reporting on the investment climate with a lot of transparency, accountability, and not just throwing numbers around. It's very important, because
Thank
that's
you very
also
much.
what grooms the faith of these investors when they come in.
Thank you very much, Oyeyemi. Well, I think maybe you might use this message before we go further. I've got a certain Adebola who sent in a message here, and this one is for you. And it says, well, Omas, please help me ask Oyeyemi, do people tell her that she sounds so much like Tiwa Savage? I don't know if you have a music plan, but that's it for you this morning. But so let's get back on there. We'll find out. And for those who want to be part of this conversation, to find out, you can go over to our YouTube channel. You can find us on youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. Search for us, you see us, we're live, and then you can tell that for yourself. But let's get Chibuzor. The next paper will fall to you now, and this one is the federal government will tackle decline in school enrollment, says the minister. That's the Minister of Education. But we've had this as always the story after, but we want to see action and getting these children out of the street to the classrooms.
So the Minister of Education, Tahir Mamman, was in EU for a reunion, basically, in the class of, in the University of Lagos's 1984 law class reunion, and he took out some time from his visit there to meet up with the governor and went down to State House, and in that time also he took a tour of one of the schools of a newly remodeled school in Uyo. I think that's Christ the King School on Wellington Basiwi, Uyo. And obviously he said he was impressed by the remodeling, and the governor also talked him through various other things he had done in terms of trying to sort out and renew and revitalize educational infrastructure around the state. So he made a statement that I, as someone who believes a lot in education and the power of education, and who believes that education in the right way is going to be that it would help Nigeria get out of the mess it is in now. He said that the federal government will tackle the decline in school enrollment. Well, I'm assuming he's talking about primary school and secondary school level, obviously, because university, we're still discussing university, and we don't have enough time for that now. So he's saying that they're going to try, and the governor basically took him around and he said he's going to replicate the same models of building new schools or refurbishing schools across the entire local government and across the local governments in the state. And he's asking the federal government to replicate it. So for me, I'm going back to the major statement with the major issue here, which is the out-of-school children in Nigeria. Nigeria has loads of out-of-school children. For me, it's one of our major security risks, because when these kids become adults, they lack the education, they lack the orientation, they lack the ability and ingredients to be able to make proper decisions that lead to national good in a lot of cases. Now, we need to sort out that issue, and that problem in itself is multifaceted. It's not just about having infrastructure. If we recall, one of our past presidents spent some good money building facilities for, I think it was what we call the Amajari somewhere in the north, and they were never reutilized. Building infrastructure is good, because obviously, and building quality, decent infrastructure is good, especially for as some of us who are parents who have children in private schools can testify to, because it changes the way the kids will think. It takes them away from where they are to where they should be. But there are reasons why a lot of those kids are out of school. Some of them have, due to the economic situation, become also caretakers for their family, income earners for their families, and they're having to spend the time they should have spent studying in school to chasing money on the streets, either by hawking, trading. Some of them are homeless, doing whatever they can do to eke out a living to support their lives and their parents. So that in itself is something that needs to be sorted out. If not, there will still be pulling those kids out of school, even if you have all the nice, beautiful buildings, you know. I saw the comment on model schools, and I remember that our president in his tenure as governor in Lagos State had also those beautiful plans of having lovely infrastructure around that were called model schools in that era. And the truth is that those schools are only functional, or those buildings only become schools when they become centers of education and people can actually use them. And if you can solve the problems of what are the things that pull these kids out of school, if we can solve the problems of providing a pipeline to build up quality teachers and sufficient teachers to build quality, and both in terms of quality and quantity for the teachers that need to sort out those schools, you know, and the other things that have been done by, you know, like the school feeding programs and all that, if we can actually do it diligently and scale it up to where it actually changes the way kids can and affects kids to come to school. So a lot of things have to happen, but maybe this is one step, little as it might be, but it's a journey.
All right. Thank you very much. As we embark on the journey to get the children out of the streets and into the classroom, to get them to stay there and read Facebook. That is not the app now, but Facebook. That's Face Your Book. That's what I'm trying to say. But let's go over now to the punch chant this morning. And Oyeyemi, this one would need your legalese and expertise. We need to put it to bear here. So let's see. It says that Rivers Assembly in crisis as Wike's loyalists, that's the just immediate past governor of the state, and now the current minister of the Federal Capital Territory, moves to impeach the governor, Fubara. We were inundated with the visuals coming from that state. What was your response when you saw the visuals and the governor visibly shaking, saying he was ready to die?
Rivers has been a hot pot of trouble for many years. And I think it is time that the political stakeholders in that state choose their struggles and choose the people over and above their personal interest, political stakes or vested interests, whatever they think they have in that state. It is very sad that with every change of government, there's always this initial drama, that takes away from the value of what those offices are. And the thing is, I think also that there just needs to be some form of maybe partisan input, across board, where the political stakeholders across the parties are called to question, because it's an autonomous state, so they can do, a lot of them are working within the bounds of the law, but certainly doing many unlawful things, right? Many unlawful things. And it's just time. I really don't care whose axe is God. I'm not trying to get into the fine details of whether there is a cause with Honorable Minister Wike or a cause with Governor Fubara or any of the stakeholders. Why would there be a action to bomb a state house of assembly? Why would you have a governor being fired and attacked in that manner in open air with it being covered, right? And then you now have people, I was watching some of the videos and they're despicable, to say the least, to say, oh, you will not die, I will not die, I want to be remembered. I don't think it's good to give credence to these things. It portrays who we should not be, right? It portrays who we should not be. And I think that at the party level, everybody needs to be called to order. The people, like we were at the precipice of significant societal, trauma, economic issues that are bigger than we can handle. So having this kind of stress point added to it. And then there's also a tribal twist to this fight as well, which we must be careful, right, to ensure that it doesn't go beyond control. Because when you now start having issues like, oh, the judge against this, you don't need that. Nigeria doesn't need another pocket of trouble. We have enough. So I think this is an appeal to all of the parties involved. Look, it's time to forget whatever political stakes you have and just let us think about governance. He's a governor. He's been empowered, right? If you have issues with him, I'm not this kind of political drama where 6 people say, okay, we want to impeach him. That's not what we need. Proper governance issues. Let us put our hands to the plow and over and above everything, think about the ordinary Nigerian who's just trying to get a living and get by.
Okay. A whole lot of questions. How the honeymoon just expired in less than since May, and then here we are. The honeymoon is over between.
That's politics. That's politics
Okay.
for you. I mean, honeymoons are 24 hours. In fact, 1 hour.
Oh.
So, yeah, because it's not. It's really not. It's
political honeymoon. I was going to say.
Yes, political honeymoons are only for. They're like infatuations. They're like crushes. Okay. When the ends are aligned, when the ends are aligned, you see everyone smiling. But once the ends are not aligned, right, you see drama. So we need to do the right thing in spite of the ends. And the only right thing to do now is to honor the Nigerian people. And in this case, the Riverian.
Okay.
Using the
okay.
Just honor them over and above all of these political stakes.
Thank you so much, Oyeyemi.
So I'd just like to quickly chip in. So you would see pockets of this drama. You tend to see pockets of this type of drama in a lot of instances. Because of the way we run our political system, it's indoctrinal system, right? Anybody who goes to the center is basically a nominee of whoever is at the state level. Whenever you vacate the state level, for you to retain relevance once you move to the center, you still have to keep a grasp and a great hold of your state. And that's why you see those kind of clashes, because it's basically power does not have power. There's no vacuum when it comes to power. Whoever is on the seat wants to exercise power. And the guy who has left, who feels like he has left his supervisor down there, also wants to exercise power. We're going to keep seeing this kind of clashes when we continue the kind of system that we're building and we've been building and using for many years. It's across board.
So that takes me to messages waiting for us already. WhatsApp messages.
This one comes on saying from Peter from Festac says, Nigeria is a comedy country. In other words, the words of Amechi, Nigerians don't react to anything. Politicians keep looting us dry, repairs that cost more than building a new one. What a shame. Clueless government officials running the country, and the budget is for the politicians, not for Nigerians. That's the word of Peter from Festac. And now I would go over to pick up Dami's message from Ikeja. I dare you to mention one state in Nigeria with serious mining, legal and illegal activities going on without serious security instability. The problem has never been the opportunities for investment. But the questions is, are leaders willing to do the hard work of making those investments viable? Question, food for thought this morning as I drift away now to get, okay, Adebola was here a while ago saying, Oyeyemi, do people tell you that your voice sounds like Tiwa Savage? Well, you get that always. Now, Gilbert Musa comes up saying, on the just released supplementary budget, there is a provision for creation of new ministries, and Chibuzor alluded to that. According to the Rosalie 2014 report, we need to shrink ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria to ensure effectiveness in public service. Why are we going backwards? Reports will gather dust, new ones will come up. Moving on. Get this one in. Abib from Surulere will tell us this. It says, again, back to Oyeyemi this morning, and he says, like the listener said, yes, I agree. Oyeyemi absolutely sounds like a Tiwa Savage. I bet she sings like Tiwa too. I don't know. That's a beat from Surulere. Anyway, so let's get some more. eBay from Uyo was sending this one saying, well, sincerely, the government in Akwa Ibom has begun a silent revamping of school in the state. Most public schools were without fence, and you could see students around town walking and hawking instead of being in school. And the present government has continued with the Christ the King school. This will go a long way to ensure that students at least remain in school to at least learn instead of running around. That's what he said. And Joyce will leave me a message here saying, well, this Tiwa thing is coming all over to you. Joyce will say you are Tiwa Savage. I don't know, sound alike. I feel like Wike should be called to order. He is not above the law. The president should call him to order. Enough is enough, I beg. That's Joyce's opinion this morning. And then I will get Dan Okuda saying, Wike should be made to understand that Rivers State is not Lagos. No godfather last in Rivers politics. So he should have known Amechi was there, and then he came, and then, so it just goes on. Live with it, that's life. Wike is reaping what he planted in Rivers State, especially what he did to Rotimi. See it? It's what Fubara is back just barely 4 months or how many months down the line. Why it is sweeting Fubara It is paining Wiki. What goes around comes around. Idima Puza from Surulere. And I get in Ayo's message from Lagos saying, which Amici is not the right example to quote for this, I beg. That's what he would say. Hey, Chibuzor, let's get back to the messages now. If we get some more before we go, I see Fabian, I see you on the fringes already, but let's see. Help us throw this one more in now before we go, if you can. Sit at home. Anambra community laments brutalization. That's according to the Daily Trust. When will the travails of the Southeastern people be over?
Okay, so it's back to the sit at home and instructions and the enforcement of the brutal enforcement of the sit at home proclamation by supporters of IPOP supporters, and specifically in this story you've mentioned the Finland-based Biafran agitator Simon Ekpa. That's another it's a failure. Well, I wouldn't say it's so there's been a lot of talk and a lot of impression about how that most of the people in the Southeast are practically either in support of the sit at home. A lot of them are in support. That's why they're sitting at home. That's why they're allowing to happen. This story actually brings out some of the things that a lot of these guys have to face to come out. I have colleagues who are down in the East, and they cannot, for fear of their life, step out of their homes. Not because they don't want to go to work or they want to go and get a daily living. It's not like these guys are going to give them cash every day. They don't come out. They will lose their living, and they are not able to leave their homes. Because of these guys are able to intimidate them, and in cases even able to take lives. We've seen video coverage of when people have been brutalized, when people have been killed.
In summary, as we go, is there what the seeming use of the conventional forces going about it? Do you see political solution in the horizon?
There has to be a mix. You have to be able to show that you have the power to do what you say you are going to have to do. But you also have to engage, to understand, and have to meet at middle ground. We've done, fortunately, unfortunately, we've had to do that in several locations in this country. And I think for this particular situation, it would have to happen for a while, at least to be able to get these people on your side. Because I have my own personal opinions about some of the agitations and some of the things these guys are asking for, and I feel a lot of them are self-serving. But you need to get people on your side to make change happen, and I don't think the government is doing enough of that at the moment.
Okay, this takes us, that's how we wrap it up this morning, but not before we get a few messages going quickly now. This one, the welfare plus.
Quality of university lecturers and other teachers needs to be improved. Great nations have arisen after leaders invested in education. Our leaders should learn from them. Fabian from Ekbe reacting to that news from Akwa Ibom, the revolution in terms of building schools and getting students in there. Now, the final message here comes in from Chidi. As for Wiki and for Bora fight, it's expected because this is same thing Wiki did to his predecessor. On that note, we'll wrap it up. We want to say thank you to Oyeyemi Aderibigbe, aka the Tiwa sounder like lawyer, singer voice. Thank you so much for stopping by this morning.
Thank you so much, Omas. Thank you, Lagos.
And I want to say thank you to Chibuzor Nwaezeapu as always.
Thank you so much, Omas. Thank you, Lagos.
Thanks so much to everyone who sent in messages and those still trying to, and for those who also listen. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning.